The other was what we believe about Pittsburgh and about community. So if we're deciding that we're a community foundation in the classic sense and that the word community means something, and that's what we're going to take as our differentiating value proposition, if you will, then we have to have a philosophy about community that is a story we can tell our donors and our grantees and the community as a whole. And here's what we spent a lot of time thinking about. This is, and I believe this, I believe even despite the year that we've just lived through, the tremendously difficult economic times that we've experienced, this is still a community of tremendous potential and opportunity. So we love the fact, our community loves the fact that we're voted America's most livable city. You know, when it happened more than a decade ago, everybody embraced it because they thought it was so ironic. When it happened the second time, we embraced it because we were beginning to believe that it was true. And there is a tremendous new spirit that's emerging in Pittsburgh. You know, we have this advertising slogan now that emerged out of the Pittsburgh 250, and I really like this campaign, by the way. But it's the idea that Pittsburgh is a place where you can do almost anything you can imagine, and that there's a lot of energy happening in that space. And it turns out, if you really look at the world that many of us inhabit, it really is happening in that way. A decade ago, when a whole group of people in the community associated with the River Life Task Force started talking about development along the riverfronts, you know, I always remember what Alex Krieger from Harvard said when he came here and studied Pittsburgh, and he looked at it and he said, "This is a really fantastic community to be a car." And what he meant by that was that absolutely the best places in town were reserved for the roads and the parking lots. So if you were a car, you got a great view. And now, you know, I don't know if you've had the experience of bringing visitors to Pittsburgh and having them go to the convention center and walk along the riverfront and experience this place on a sunny day, but there ain't any place like it in America. You know, the scale of it, there's a grandeur to it. It is an amazing aesthetic experience. And again, it's because some people decided to devote themselves to the idea of change. We're making a difference there. Again, you know, my association goes way back with the Heinz family. And when you look at Jack Heinz's, the senator's father's original vision for a cultural district, which, by the way, we in Pittsburgh all now take for granted. You know, we sort of see that as something we've done. You know, when this started, this was a red light district, and the whole notion that the arts could be used to change a downtown and generate economic growth, people laughed quietly at that too. And it was considered a rich man's quaint idea. Well, it turned out, community began to buy into this idea, and more people got into it. Today we have the most fabulous cultural district in America, and I believe it's because of the broadening of that commitment in the community as more and more people began to own that vision. It's a fabulous place not only to see the arts, but to live and to eat, and that vision of a 24/7 center is really beginning to become true. I would also argue that downtown Pittsburgh is only alive today because of the investment that was made over the course of several decades in the cultural district. But these are the sort of grand scale things that Pittsburgh is making happen in a way that we should all be very proud of. The experience that happened recently with the Hill, where the groups on the Hill decided that they needed to be represented in what was happening with the new Penguins Arena, and the discussion began to emerge about a community benefits agreement. There were a whole slew of people in the community who said, well, what good could possibly come from people in the community being given a greater voice in an economic development decision that we desperately need, and don't get in the way of doing a good development thing that will benefit the whole community, which of course is garbage. And what actually happened as the community became empowered to participate in the conversation was that the Hill found its voice. There was an opportunity for people to participate in civic dialogue. We ended up with a community benefits agreement. We ended up with a basis for there being more of a focus on what the community wants from the development that would be happening there. And although imperfect, you begin to see, again, that where we are coming as a community is to a place of thinking more aspirationally than probably Pittsburgh has in a long, long time, but probably more than most communities in America do. You know, a lot of communities in America have advantages that we don't. They're in the Sun Belt, they're in these fabulous locations, possibility and of sort of seizing what Saint-Exupéry says here in thinking about unleashing the power of imagination, you know, seeing what CMU is capable of in terms of robotics and seeing what UPMC can do with healthcare and, you know, these tremendous engines of transformation that we have right here in our community. So to unleash this is an important part of what we want to do if we want to build this community. However, what we can't do is think of it as the whole task. You know, I want you to go back for a moment to the imagine what you can do here scenario. A lot of our kids in Pittsburgh go to school every morning never seeing an adult. They get to school from the moment they wake up to the moment that they get to school, they've never seen an adult. We have kids who walk past these sort of situations to get to school, families who live next door to this, folks who walk past this to get to work, and whose experience of neighborhood is more like this than the fabulous pictures that I've just shared with you. This is a very, very challenging community to be African American. And if Pittsburgh wants to be honest with itself, it has to grapple with the issue of race. This is a very, very difficult community to be poor in. We have an exceptionally high rate of poverty in this community, exceptionally high. If this is your reality, you know, as we have the happy talk with ourselves about a new era of possibility, we also have to have the realistic talk with ourselves about what some folks in our community are up against and what they can imagine that rock pile of Saint-Exupéry's to become. You know, how do we get them to go beyond seeing the rock pile as rubble to seeing possibility? And that's a different challenge, but it's an important challenge. Because as the video that we shared with you said a moment ago, you know, we want to convey a sense that in this little village of ours, whatever the number is, nobody is disposable. You know, we don't get to have throwaway people. We don't get to say that it's all right to have a public school system that fails 49 out of 50 kids. It's not acceptable. We believe that if we are a community foundation that really cares about community, we have to take seriously this idea that we're all connected. And that when we live in a community context that accepts the degradation of some of us, we're accepting the degradation of all of us. So the beautiful, wonderful, magnificent dreams that we hold on to as a community, we can only truly aspire to in confidence if we are willing to accept the need to work on these challenges as well. And so we thought, okay, how do we frame a strategic plan that captures the spirit of what I've said? And part of it really is that we believe that the way we continue the revival of Pittsburgh, that we continue the momentum that we are seeing, is that we adopt a philosophy in this community that there are no more throwaway people. That we have to be the sort of community where everyone is valued.